Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thanks so much for joining me here today. We're taking another look at VET, and just before we do, we look at Bitcoin first. I think it's important to look at that today. Normally I'd summarize, but we're kind of at I wouldn't say it's a state, we need a state address here or nothing, but the bottom line is Bitcoin selling off pretty heavy today. It makes sense considering there's a tremendous amount of low volume over the last 72 hours. So ultimately, I just want you to be careful. It's kind of a cautionary tale here. We might see somewhere between 60 to 63,000 if we lose the support here. The 200-day simple moving average is working its way up. That could save us, but if we lose that, it's pretty much bottoms dropping out. We're going to see probably 60,000 here. Again, it's just a strong speculation. I could be way off. I hope I'm wrong, but it's trending negatively, and I don't really like the way that it's moving here today. So that's just my personal opinion. So just be aware of that. But moving on to VET, let's take a look at VET. And with VET, essentially, it's definitely doing well in the overall big picture, right? So let's take a look at the big picture. First of all, its all-time high is right around 25 cents. That's a one-day candlestick close. So we'll go ahead and put that up there on the charts. There's also a major resistance level, which is, of course, the all-time high at about 28 cents. Okay. So we'll go ahead and mark that up there for later. We're above the 50 and the 200-day simple moving average. Obviously, the price has been continuing pretty much progressing upwards every single day. We see this big red candle. Of course, that was, the 10th. That was the recent Bitcoin sell-off. We lost 10% in Bitcoin in 3 hours. But ever since then, it's pretty much been ramping back up pretty strong. So last 24 hours has been a very strong day for VET. But at this point, it's obviously retracing based on the fact that Bitcoin is selling off. So, you can kind of expect that. This may actually end up in a red candle depending on how Bitcoin continues. We're at about 63,800 for Bitcoin right now. So just be mindful of that. But the good news is overall sentiment for VET is higher. It's definitely doing well. It could hit a little reset button here. You might get a better value if the price comes down soon. But the bottom line is that, yeah, it's definitely doing much better than it ever has before, at least in the recent past. Okay, so just big picture, VET is, I would say, on the macro, it's definitely looking good. Big picture, I think it's going to absolutely continue to take off. But you just got to keep in mind, we've got a little bit of a slow in progress here today, but we're under 70 and above 50 on RSI. So there's plenty of room for this just to, I would say, explode. For lack of better terms, there's plenty of room for that option, more room for growth. On the 4-hour chart, let's take a quick look here as well. We're still holding at the 50-day simple moving average. I feel like that might change here soon, but we'll see what happens. And, good news is we're back above the 50. So if we can hold that through this scenario here, and just say Bitcoin doesn't sell off like I'm expecting, and it just continues to go sideways, then VET should hold here at the 50-day simple moving average on the 4-hour chart. But the good news is there's 200 trailing behind. That's proven to be a very strong support level. So worst case scenario, we might see 14 cents. That would be an extreme worst case scenario. I don't think that'll happen because, as you can see, the lowest the point in which it went before is 14.8 cents when we had that major sell-off from Bitcoin. So again, I think it's pretty less unlikely for that to happen. But MACD looks like normal right now. Kind of looks kind of jagged. We don't need to worry about that. Let's look at the 1-hour chart and kind of see what the micro is telling us here. Now moving on to, let's take a look at the Ishimoku cloud here. We're still above the cloud, which is good. It could work as a support level. That's potential. We've got the TT sequential. We are at an, okay, this is good. This is good, right? So we're at an 8 right now, so there's potential for it to turn around, right? Keep that in mind. That could likely continue on based on how high it went up here, because this was a pretty significant increase. I mean, look at that in about, VET doesn't normally move this fast. You're looking at about 16% in maybe a, 18-hour period. But as you can see, we hit a 9 here, and we should have stopped, but it just kept going. And that was likely because Bitcoin took off last night before the clock struck midnight, and essentially as soon as the day started, it's been trailing ever since. So this is following Bitcoin fairly close. So keep that in mind. VET does work very synonymous with Bitcoin in a lot of ways. So you can kind of expect what Bitcoin does, VET will do as well. But it was obviously shooting really hard right here. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours into overtime, and then it started to retrace down. So it passed that standard deviation point, and it had to come back down. Right, because if you look at this, you can totally see how far out the price action was above that standard deviation for the volume weighted average price. So that's a big consideration there as well. So the bottom line here is that the price is trailing down. We should expect it to consolidate or retrace here soon. In other words, consolidate or go sideways for a little while. That would be the expectation based on how it's previously performed and where we're at with TD sequential presently. The only variable we don't have is, of course, Bitcoin and how much lower it'll go, right? If it keeps making lower lows and lower highs, then VET will do the same. But keep in mind also that VET has a pretty strong support level right here at about 15.4 cents. So I'm speculating we won't see the price go much lower than that. In fact, why don't we go ahead and take a quick look at what the charts are telling us here. So right now we're right at about a previous resistance level, which is a current support. So 16.5, I mean, this should hypothetically be the lowest it goes, right? And so pending Bitcoin just goes straight sideways from here on out, that will be fine right here. Bitcoin drops, we should expect to see the price come closer to 15 cents. That would be my speculation. But again, it's kind of hard to say specifically right now with this being so reliant on Bitcoin success. A lot of coins, like Shiba Inus and all the kind of, the dog coins, for example, there's a good handful of coins out there right now that are not directly impacted by Bitcoin selling off. And those are actually on the inverse increasing, right? Where something like this, it has a very, very similar pairing to Bitcoin. And I would say that we should expect the price to continue lower. So if you're going to be, investing in VET right now, just simply dollar cost average. Don't take your full $1,000 and put it in right now. Put a couple hundred in right now. Wait for it to stabilize a little bit. It may come down lower. Put another couple hundred in. That's kind of how you do it in that scenario. You want to be patient. This does take time. There's a good chance that if Bitcoin slowly bleeds, that this one will too, and we'll eventually get there. But I know I'm speaking in circles, but I just want you to know that it's important that you just take a little bit of caution here and try not to get too ahead of yourself, because there's nothing worse than buying the first dip and there's like 5 or 6 dips after, right? So just heads up on that. And again, this could very well be the lowest point for VET. I hope that's the case. I really truly do, because I'm a VET holder as well. But on the same accord, it's important to just kind of be real in the sense that this probably isn't the bottom, and Bitcoin looks like it's suffering. It's at 63,700 now. So bottom line here, though, is when VET does recover, just say, for example, we get a ramp back up and all is well, Bitcoin stabilizes. VET will be right back up to about 20 cents, I would say, within the next week or two. I think it's very realistic to see that, just based on the sheer fact that it was coming close to that before, and it got destroyed, or that momentum, so to speak, got really set back right here in that 3 hours where Bitcoin lost 10%. Right? Remember November 10th? I think we all do. Majority of us lost about 15% of our altcoin portfolio because of that, right? Well, that's no exception, right? It has to be impacted too. So just be warned. So this is just a public service announcement, hopefully, to just take caution and be careful. Dollar cost average, I would say, is the best scenario in this situation. And obviously, just be a little bit more patient if you can, because I don't think Bitcoin's done retracing. All right, so hopefully you found benefit here today. If so, like, subscribe. If you need a leg up in the industry, you want to become a better trader, or perhaps you want to survive scenarios like these where I actually send out signals letting my members know to trim your positions and to exit them before these kind of crazy things happen, then consider joining my Patreon community where we're all learning and growing together. And I also send out signals for every single trade that I take, so you can follow along if you'd like, or at least learn what it's like to be a day in the life of the trader. Because this is my full-time job. This is what I do for a living, because it's something I'm truly passionate about, and I love helping people trade. So check that out in your own time. Thank you so much for your time, however. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.